Thank you. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here today. There you go. Okay. And before we begin, I also want to thank Asian American Midwest Progressives and my friend Lucy Freicha, who's staffing a table at the front. I hope that at the end of the talk, if you have a chance, you'll check out what we've got on this table in terms of community resources to respond to our current moment. In December 2016, I first watched Patti Smith, punk rock legend, perform Bob Dylan's "A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall" to a room full of royals, the king and queen of Sweden, and Nobel laureates at the ceremony that awarded Bob Dylan the Nobel Prize in Literature. It was a performance that deeply moved me, and I know exactly where I was when I saw it. I had boarded a plane from Columbus, Ohio, to Mexico City. It was the end of a long, hard 6 months. I had worked for Hillary Clinton's campaign to try to stop Donald Trump from winning the presidency the first time, which didn't work. We had worked hard. We hired organizers. We managed a field office north of Dayton. We lost. I packed up our things and I said, I got to get out of here. And I got on this flight. My dad is kind of a Bob Dylan guy. He really likes Bob Dylan. And he had emailed me a link to this video. And so I boarded this plane, I sat down in my seat, and I put in those little white earbuds on the iPhones, and I listened to this performance. And as the plane began to shook and wobble, and the jets whirred, and the plane took off, and I listened to this performance, I gotta say, I think I began to cry. The theme for today is Koorsoo, a glimmer of hope, a light in the darkness. And I think what moved me about that performance was that Patti Smith's singing Bob Dylan's "A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall," it appeared to me a little bit of Koorsoo, a little light at the end of a hard campaign when a lot seemed uncertain. And I think about that in this moment too. I want to tell you about that performance. Okay, so she stands on the top of a balcony in the Stockholm Concert Hall in Stockholm, Sweden. Patti Smith, she's on the verge of turning 70. And remember, she's a punk rock icon. She's got this dark gray hair draping her simple black suit, and she looks out at this room of dignitaries and nobles and Nobel laureates, and she begins to sing simply a song that's simple in structure as well. It goes, "Oh, where have I been, my blue-eyed son? Oh, where have you been, my darling young one?" And then she responds with answers. She sings a series of images that are stark and haunting. "I've stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I've crawled on 6 crooked highways. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. And it's a hard rain's a gonna fall." I have to tell you, I think the theme today, it's a little bit of pressure because things seem a little dark right now. And my thesis, if you'll accept it, is that we're it. We're the light in the darkness. If we accept it, if we have the courage to. And I think what moved me about that performance was that Patti Smith singing this song, it's an acknowledgement of what we already know, but we too often have the courage, lack the courage to say, which is that our world is broken. And it's a relief to hear someone tell the truth. So last week I was writing this speech. And last week was sort of a tough week out here. I woke up the morning to write this speech, the morning after a 37-year-old woman was murdered by federal government agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota, while sitting in her car. I'd scrolled past this video, I think, half a dozen times already in the morning, and I'm sitting and I'm trying to figure out how to write this speech. I think to myself, have 1 million Americans woke up this morning and watched this video of our government killing a woman? It's dark. Outside, the sky turns from black to purple to magenta. Then it turns that white, gray, blue, Ohio color. I watched this video again. In it, this woman, Renee Good, is sitting in her car. One officer, masked, comes up to the car and grabs at the car door handle on the passenger side. And he sticks his other hand into the car, fumbling, scrambling with his fingers at the door, trying to grab at the woman. And she pulls up, pulls back, turns, and a guy shoots her through the windshield and then again through the passenger side window. And when I watch this video, what I think about is what I heard last month in my job. I think about the Honduran woman here in Columbus who calls me to say that her husband was leaving a construction site in his pickup truck, and then it was surrounded by 8 ICE officers, masked agents of the federal government. And she says one of them pushed his window down. And I think, what does that even mean? Pushed his window down when I get this call. He pushed his window down and he grabbed open the door and he pulled this guy out of the door and he slammed him against the car and he handcuffed him, and now this guy is in Michigan, detained several weeks later. When I watch the killing of Renee Good on video, I think, now I know what it means to push the window down. We have on video what we see these ICE officers doing. And we know this shooting itself is horrifying, but the violation, the entitlement, the scrambling at the car door to grab someone out, that is chilling. I think as I'm sitting there, the sky lightening, I'm writing this speech, I think about, I've been asked to give a talk to a group of parents of English language learners at a local elementary school who want to know about their rights when interacting with ICE. My heart sinks. Yeah, you have rights. They may be violated. What abstract bullshit is that, I think? These people want to know how to survive, how not to get killed. They don't want to know what kind of lawsuit will be filed after. Okay, but the theme is Koorsoo, a little light in the darkness. I say all this because my day job, I work at an organization, nonprofit, Community Refugee Immigration Services. And the beautiful thing about that work is that I get to meet people from all over the world. And I have coworkers who speak many different languages. So when I hear about this theme, what I've been asked to do today, Koorsoo, I go to a couple who speak Farsi. And I say, tell me, what is Koorsoo? They say, oh, it's a little glimmer of light. I say, okay, I got it. That's what the translation is. It's right. I need some water. And, so they tell me about this word, and, one of them then says, maybe you should talk about what's happening in Iran right now. So I listened to a radio show about what's happening in Iran. We hear about these protests that have gone on for weeks, about people who, in my office, who have family in Iran who can't speak to their family or worried about them because of these blackouts, lack of electricity, lack of internet. I hear on the radio that the general prosecutor for the state of Iran has said anyone in the street caught protesting is an enemy of God. Wow. And then I see a video of people protesting of dark bodies against the night sky, no lights, no electricity, and little glimmers of light. Little lights, little flashlights, little phones. And I think these people know something about how to communicate in darkness. And maybe we ought to too. So I go in the next day and my coworker says, "How's the speech going?" And I put my head in my hands. I say, "I'm procrastinating. I don't know what to do." She says, "Maybe you should start by putting pen to paper wisely." So I do. Koorsoo, little glimmer of light, little glimmer of light. It's like in the summertime when I have a party in the backyard and I grill on the charcoal and I have people over and we have really good margaritas. And then the soft murmur of voices at the end in the dark, and then there's a little orange back in the corner of the backyard, and I think, okay, a little glimmer of light. Koorsoo. My coworker spends a little time translating poems for me from Farsi into English, using this word, reflecting on this word. She gives me one that says, sometimes you have to endure the entire wall to catch the little crack in it, the little glimpse of light. You have to endure the wall, a crack in the wall, Koorsoo. I think about my coworkers, they speak Farsi and Dari and Pashto and French and Spanish and Arabic and Tigrinya. I think the way that they help people find through this system in Ohio. That's a little bit of Koorsoo, a little crack in the wall. I think about my clients who sit across this desk from me in my office, who have traveled oceans and crossed borders and walked through deserts, really. I think about my grandpa who left Vienna in 1938 when his home was not a home anymore. I think about how they're funny and tenacious and hardworking and creative, sometimes a little annoying like all of us. But they work hard. They're trying to figure this out. Koorsoo, a crack in the wall. I think about how all of us show up each day and these people showing up each day trying to do their thing. That makes me want to show up again. Okay, Koorsoo, a crack in the wall. So the thing about the performance of Patti Smith singing Bob Dylan's "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall" at the Nobel ceremony in 2016 that really gets me is what happens in the second verse. She's up there. You remember, she's a punk rock legend. And she stands with her hair on her simple black suit. She's on this balcony. The music swells. She sings the second verse of the song. And the song, it begins, oh, what did you see, my blue-eyed son? And then the second verse goes, no, the first verse is, where did you go? Where have you been? And the second verse is, what did you see? What did you see when you went out? She says, what did you see, my blue-eyed son? What did you see, my darling young one? And she sings that question. She begins this report back, which is the structure of the song. I saw a newborn baby with wild wolves all around it. I saw a highway of diamonds with nobody on it. I saw a black branch with blood that kept dripping. And then Patti, she begins to falter. She maybe mixes it up, the word. She says, I saw a babe that was just bleeding. This was a lyric of her own creation. This isn't Nobel Prize winner Bob Dylan. And the guitarist continues to pluck out the song, the accompaniment. But if you look on his face, you see him maybe a little confused. What's going on? Has Patti forgotten the words to the song? She looks to the left as the guitarist continues to play. I'm sorry, she says. She leans into the microphone. I'm sorry. The guitarist continues to pluck this accompaniment. I'm sorry. Then you see her try to sort of find the phrase, find the words. Heard, she says. Saw 10, she says. The guitarist continues to play. And then to the room of men in tuxedos and women in gowns, punk rock legend Patti Smith looks out and she says, I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm just so nervous. The room erupts in applause. Koorsoo, a crack in the wall. I cried watching this performance of Patti Smith sing Because the World is Broken. And she had the courage to say it to the King and Queen of Sweden. My friends, I think the thing is we have to continue to just tell the truth. And at risk of going too far and getting too out of whack, I do think a little bit about self-described Black women, lesbian, feminist, warrior, Audre Lorde, who in a room different than Patti Smith's Stockholm Concert Hall, a conference room in a Modern Language Association conference in 1977, she got up and gave a talk called The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action. And in that, what she said was, you got to speak when you're afraid. She said, we're too often afraid of censure or judgment or annihilation or death, but we're always afraid. And we're always going to die. And so you have to make a choice, whether you speak or not. And she says that in order to connect to other people, which is the only way to survive, you have to speak your truth into the world across difference. She said this as she learned that she had potentially cancer, that she thought she might be dying. She said that put her life in a merciless light. Koorsoo, that light. It can be painful, it can be scary, it can be merciless, but my friends, I think we have to keep on saying it. This past December 2025, was the end of a year that, for me, ended at a dizzying pace. I ran for Columbus City Council. We lost. But we gained a lot along the way, a lot of friends, a lot of knowledge, a lot of courage, a lot of skills. Many people put a lot of themselves into that work. Election day was on a Tuesday, and then on a Friday, I think I went into the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services office with a client, a young man from Tanzania, who looked at me. He said, I think I saw you on the TV. And I walked through the metal detectors with him, and I said, yeah, maybe. And we sat down and we waited for his naturalization appointment because he was prepared to become a U.S. citizen. And as we sat there and as we watched Kristi Noem flash across the television screen in this dingy, bureaucratic waiting room, this young man said to me, he said something like, I have a drive to make a change. And I said, hell yeah, tell me about that. And he talked to me about how his parents had come here from Africa and how they send money back every week, every month to his family abroad, and they spend money taking care of his siblings. And he said, I just need to make something better. And we fought for him and we got him approved for citizenship. Then in mid-December, we saw a surge of ICE presence here in Columbus, which many of you know about. But what I'm interested in is the way that people stood up. I am interested in the calls we got from people saying, I want to help. From teachers saying, what do I do for my student? From family members who said, can you help me locate my loved one? From activists who said, we're passing out whistles. And I went to a mass meeting on South Parsons Avenue, and the street was spilling with people who couldn't get into the room, so many people wanted to help. The next day, I went to my parents' house, and we celebrated the last night of Hanukkah, which, is a celebration of this fight of the Maccabees against this Hellenistic empire. A little bit of resistance, Koorsoo. And we sat and we watched as the 8 candles and the 9th, the helper, flickered in this dark night, which happened to be the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. We watched a little bit of light. Patti Smith regained her footing at the end of the song. And what I'm interested in there is what she says when she does so. The music swells. There's this steel pedal guitar, it's called, which I don't know about, but I sent it to a musicologist friend of mine. And I said, what's this? And he described its tone as glissandi. It's this sort of swelling tone. And the music swells. And this song, we've heard, where have you been? We've heard, what did you see? We've heard, what did you hear? We've heard, who did you meet? And the last verse of the song begins, what will you do now? What will you do now, my blue-eyed son? I'm a-going back out for the rain starts a-falling. I'll walk to the depths of the deepest dark forest, where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the executioner's face is always well hidden, where hunger is ugly, where souls are forgotten. Watching it now, I think, what'll you do now? I think about what we have done, our collective journeys since I first watched this song back in 2016. I think about the work many did in the COVID pandemic to respond to community needs. Where have you been? At this courthouse turned into a convention center. A convention center turned into a courthouse where all these evictions were happening and there were empty beds in case the hospitals got overflown and everyone in masks. I think about the Black Lives Matter protests in the streets. Where have you been? Downtown, watching your friends get tear gassed and then showing up again. I think about tenant organizing and efforts for housing justice. Where have you been? In housing court, out in the streets, trying to move people out of their house when a landlord won't let them stay. I think about Palestine's solidarity against genocide. Where have you been? Talking about ceasefire, trying to find peace. Go back out before the rain starts falling, she sings. Then say what you see. Say what you see. I'll tell it and think it and speak it and breathe it, the song goes, and reflect it from the mountain so all souls can see it. Then I'll stand on the ocean before it starts sinking, and I'll know my song well before I start singing. We are each a light in the darkness if we know our song and are not afraid to sing it. Smith wrote later about this performance. She said, I had been struck by a plethora of emotions avalanching with such intensity that I was unable to negotiate them. I hadn't forgotten the words. I simply were unable to draw them out. Go out, face the truth, and tell what you see. It's a dialogue, the song, my son, but maybe it's also a dialogue with yourself, a set of prompts. Where have you been? What did you see? What did you hear? Who did you meet? Tell it, think it, speak it, breathe it. Renee Good, killed on video. What did you see? What did you feel? What did you hear? Consider this wasn't the first time and it won't be the last. Tell it, think it, speak it, breathe it. You are the light. Reflect it for the whole world to see it. This is the end of Trump year 1 in Trump 2. Go back out before the rain starts falling. You can still see the way. Koorsoo. Thanks. Thank you. Let's go.